losers on the exchange. Law Union and Rock Insurance was the top gainer. They were up by 10%, closed at 66 kobo. Top loser was livestock feeds, I believe. They were down by 8.7%, closed at 52 kobo. Whether we know was it the MPC outcome that inspired the stock market? It couldn't have been that.
No, it was majorly bargain hunting in market bellwether. So Danksem was up, Guarantee was up, so it was only the oil and gas index that lost in yesterday's trading session. So it's basically just the investors taking advantage of low prices
and hopping in.
Yeah.
Well, whether or not, you see, the issue now is whether or not this is going to be sustained, because the market will pop.
People will take their profits.
And you see, look, this is the stock market. So prices drop, they're very cheap. People now rush in, buy the cheap stocks, market pops, and then they're like, you know what, this thing has got, let me take my profit and pull it out of the market again. The market goes back down. But, again, as you guys at Afri Invest like to say, you have to have a long-term view, Abi.
Exactly.
Yeah, over the long term, you're better off with the market. So, speaking of the MPC meeting, your thoughts? They decided to essentially hold rates where they are from their last meeting, I believe in July. I did find some of their comments very interesting, though. So pretty much, well, how do you see it?
So at July, they looked at in their last meeting at July, they looked at some factors like the level of stability as at that time, moderating inflation rate, where the exchange rate growth was at, and then also the slowing growth rates of inflation,
right?
And then the slowing growth rate of the economy,
right.
And now they're looking also at threats of rising inflation due to the pressures on food inflation caused by flooding, and also caused by the Fulani herdsmen and other insurgencies. So they're looking at this, and the thinning of the base effect. So if you're looking at year-on-year inflation, as at this time last year,
right,
the inflation was also thinning out.
Right.
So looking at the thin base effect, so we're going to be seeing possibly going to be seeing higher inflation for the rest of the year. So they considered all these factors, but more importantly, the slowing of the economy was mostly their focus. So they considered two options: either tightening the rates or leaving it at status quo, which is what they eventually did. So tightening it would have meant, okay, they're kind of like trying to curb inflation, taming inflation, and but it will further dampen growth. So it will not give the growth boost that they want for the economy. So they decided to hold it and maintain the current monetary policy stance and just moderate and control the rates and liquidity pressures using other ways like the OMO, open market operations, interventions that they usually do, and just decided to hold which is what we expected anyway.
Exactly, it's what we expected, and this is fine. But I just wish that for once. Okay, where is this comment now? They said, as far as, what we need to grow, as far as what the economy needs to grow, they cited three things. They said, rapid implementation of the 2018 budget, improved security conditions, the whole Boko Haram, herdsmen thing. And this is the one that stuck out to me. Increased, cheaper, and longer-term financing options to the private sector. Cheaper financing options means lower interest rates. So I know, and I get it, and I know what you're going to say. I already understand why they have to hold rates. I understand you already mentioned why they need to tighten. But if you're going to be saying that you're going to, you have your certain reasons why you're holding rates, or why certain members of the MPC want to tighten and increase rates, but in your comments, you are now saying that one of the factors that is required for the economy to grow is cheaper rates. Then cut the rates.
They also mentioned that there should be some sort of fiscal and monetary policy balance.
Yes.
They want the government to focus on economic growth.
I get it.
So looking at the two options.
Yeah, you have to go with the other.
Exactly. We need more growth, more stable growth in the economy, especially considering the fact that we're just out of a recession.
Right. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
Where's that headline? Is it from the Punch? They say, yeah, Nigeria's exit from recession under threat for all the reasons you've already mentioned just now.
Exactly.
Right.
So in the minutes of the meeting, they also state that the government should focus on economic growth,
Right.
and should take advantage on the rising oil prices, and just totally focus on the growth plan, the economic growth plan,
Yeah.
to boost the economy. They mentioned again non-performing. They mentioned again non-performing loans.
Right. Yes. Exactly. That's another issue.
They want credit.
Stability, right?
Yes, and they also want credit to be cheap. But I get
you are the leader. It's you that leads credit. And I again, anyway, I understand what's going on. Also, very interesting here. Where is their growth forecast for the economy? The CBN actually, from their comments here, they're now looking at 1.75% for GDP growth, which is actually this is, I think, I can't remember the last time our growth forecast coming from our own government were lower than IMF.
Because IMF predicted 2.5%.
Right.
So they're also looking at
fear is catching them.
Exactly. Especially
fear is catching the CBN.
Especially as we towards elections.
Right.
Now, they know there are a lot of distractions right now in the government, so they're just trying to urge the government to focus more on economic growth. Like we instead of having like more political instability as a result of the elections, because right now there's the fear, as you said, that
of course,
what fiscal policies will stand if APC remains in power, if power changes hands.
Well, we already know what HSBC thinks in their report. They don't think there'll be any development. Okay, real quick on them. I just saw some very random statistic. When I see random things like this, I like to point them out. So our foreign exchange reserves, it was 23 billion naira in 2016 when we were in the recession. It grew by 10 billion to 33 billion in 2017. Now we're currently at 45 billion, but we lost. I was not lost, but the central bank spent about 2 billion naira defending the currency over this past month. So we've gone from 47 billion in August to
3 billion.
Okay, 3, yeah.
3
well,
billion.
if we happen, I thought it was 2 per average of 2, but if
almost 3.
Almost 3, right? Yeah. If we happen to lose just 2 and fall to 43 billion, it would have been an exact growth of 10 billion per year since October 2016. I mean, we'll see where that goes. Wede, let's talk about the 2017 budget performance, because we were supposed to touch on that yesterday, but we ran out of time.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to just go through the entire thing, but budget. I highly recommend everybody follows budgets at BUDGITNG, budget NG, the group that is always pushing for transparency in our fiscal practices. What they look essentially, because we only got a couple minutes left, but Paul, I'm going to get to your message in a second. Paul was asking about MTN and Stanbic. Real quick, I have to really get to that. Okay. But see, the gist is this. Our revenue target was only 52%. Yeah, we targeted 5 trillion naira in 2017. Revenue came in at 2.65 trillion. Yeah. No need for long story. The real thing I want to go is our debt servicing.
Yeah.
Debt servicing, right? That is what Nigeria is paying in interest on all the borrowings, right? Was 1.8 trillion naira. It actually exceeded their target. It was 1.6 trillion was the target. We ended up spending 1.8 trillion. As a percentage of our revenue, were the 68. That is out of every 100 naira that Nigeria earns that Nigeria earned in 2017. 68 naira of that went towards paying interest.
The actual performance has even really shown significant reason for us to improve our revenue. But looking at the debt servicing itself, we had actual deficit was around 3.8
trillion.
3.8 trillion, and our income was around 2.6.
So
the 1.3, what happened to it?
Right, where was that?
Well,
exactly.
And then we don't really have a clear, in our budget, we don't really have a clear plan for the debt servicing. We just see it now it has come out as 68% of the actual revenue that we made, but we need to really look. And
then I need to make this point. Okay. We're running out of time.
68% is a lot.
It's a lot. Meanwhile, is it the Nigerian Labour Congress or which union? They are now pushing for. They're giving us the 14-day ultimatum, Valentine, to increase minimum wage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're planning to come back on strike tomorrow.
Right, and that is an extra cost that we now have to look at.
Extra cost that states cannot even afford.
Afford.
I mean, we're already owing salaries.
Lagos, this is anyway. We're running out of time. Paul, real quick. Paul
sends in this message. Paul says, Rotus, did you listen to the media press briefing at the close of the MPC meeting? Because I was surprised when the CBN governor said the earlier engagements with MTN and the banks were inconclusive. So if it was inconclusive, why the rush in slamming the banks?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's because of the implications of MTN's listing and investor sentiments. They're now considering reviewing their earlier decision. The drama in this country is too much, Paul.
But additional information emerged.
Right.
Yeah, so they I mean, it's really a negative sentiment to foreign investors, because why didn't they do their full due diligence? If they were trying to be really, you must follow regulations, then why was the due diligence not done properly? And then MTN had to
go through all this
value from like $11 per share to $4 per share. I mean, is this so? Foreign investors will definitely be wary, and it's definitely bad for foreign investor sentiment.
Wede of Afri Invest, thank you so much for joining us today. Paul, thanks for your message. I'm going to post that video.
Thanks for having me.
Complete backtrack by the CBN governor on MTN and Stan. Stanbic, they're also reviewing Stanbic's fee. So I hope Stanbic, I hope you guys show up tomorrow.
We look forward to that.
Thank
and that's
you so
at
much.
6:45 every morning of the weekday in Lagos. Thank you so very much for being part of the show. Make sure you go back to youtube.com/smooth91FM Lagos to catch the previous episodes you might have missed, and follow Rotus on Twitter at RotanQuotes. Coming up next at 7:30, we bring you detailed analysis of newspaper stories. That's not before the great songs you're about to hear. It's a rainy morning in Lagos. Good morning.
When I saw the questions this morning, I was wondering what magic.
What?
When I saw the headlines this morning, I was wondering how does he want to cover everything?
Yeah, I know. I was just throwing